Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning. It's the 17th of April, 2023. You've probably been wondering where I am. Well, I've been sort of lurking in the shadows, just sort of waiting for things to happen. And we're at that point where things are going to start getting pretty spicy, a little zesty. Before I get into all of this, as you know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. I'm just giving my opinion on the market. This is going to be a two-part video. The very beginning of the video is going to be exactly what the title is here for. So this is going to be discussing the S&P 500, and then I'm going to be going into to Bitcoin and crypto in general. So just to kind of give you an idea there, at the last part of the video, I'm going to be doing just a brief overview on Bitcoin. I do want to keep this short, sweet, to the point today. So let's just go ahead and move right on into the chart. All right. Here is our chart on the S&P 500, kind of going back to February, which was February 2nd. That's when we had a nice little spike up here at almost 4,200. If I zoom out a little bit here, you can see we had a nice good move up into this high, and then we came down in what appears to be 5 waves, but you could also see this as a 3-wave correction one way or another. It's been very corrective. It really doesn't matter how you look at it. What we've been seeing is, we've been seeing overlaps, and I talk about this kind of thing quite a bit, where you've got, overlap after overlap after overlap. It's not impulsive because we constantly see areas where one price action invalidates or crosses into a prior pivot. So these are the kinds of things that we see, and we have seen, quite often. And even when you go all the way back here, we also have this sort of violation of this high over here. So one way or another, what we're seeing is a series, at least on this move up here, we saw a series of higher high and a higher low, and it was not super impulsive. But now here we are again. We're starting to see, very similar things, right? So we had a nice move up here. So I originally saw this as a larger leading diagonal. So we've got a nice 3-wave move up here into this A. We have a nice 3-wave move down here into this B. But I originally counted this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't really work out all that well. Geometrically speaking, it was fine, but from an actual Elliott wave count perspective, it just something about it just didn't seem to fit very well. And so I kind of changed it around a little bit to an A, B, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sort of an A, B, and then an ending diagonal here into this wave C, which would have completed a wave A. Okay, so now let's measure things a little bit. So we always talk about measuring when we're doing any kind of analysis. We have this dominant pivot low, we have a dominant pivot high, and then we have our pullback right here. So let's get some of our targets that we would really expect to see. We've got the 618, we've got the 100, we've got the 1236. So first off, the 618. We did see a little bit of pause there, and it ended up gapping through. So we gapped through like the next day. So that was, an area where we had a little bit of resistance. But now let's just take a look and see where we're at. Let me just go ahead and move this over to the right a little bit so that we can see this. We saw a nice rejection at this 100. So my opinion is, and I think it's going to be like this for a while. I'm going to go off of log scale. I'm going to go into arithmetic scale here for just a moment, because I think this is going to be key, right? One thing that's going to be key if you're a bear is we have to stay below this trend line right here. So this trend line, which I'm going to turn orange now, because it's becoming more and more important for bears. Okay? Is it going to be okay if we go, up here higher and grind higher? Well, in my opinion, yeah, it's fine. It's still going to be bearish up here in this zone, so long as we stay below this orange line. We have seen, sort of a couple touches back here in early April. We saw a couple touches of this orange line. And if you go onto log scale, you can see we had a rejection of it as well. But the problem with going on to log scale is, we don't get the touches down here to really create the trend line as we would expect it to. So if we go into Arithmetic Scale, again, we're pinning the bottom here, which was at that 3,500 back in October. And then we have, really several touches here that really created some support. We found support. We had a good rally off of it. And then we sort of broke down. We started seeing some areas of weakness here, and we broke down. But again, what did we see? We found some support at the downtrend channel that we've been watching basically ever since the beginning of 2022. Okay, so again, we have a touch here, we've got a touch here, we've got a touch here, a touch here, a rejection here. And, we started to see that this trend line was eventually going to break, right? And that's how trend lines work. Eventually they're going to break, and that's what we had happen. So now that we broke through this trend line, we broke through, we did a good retest of it, and then we've started to see this move up. Now, for where we're at right now, there's obviously two things that could happen, right? We could break up and out of here, or we can reject from here. I've seen really compelling and convincing cases in both scenarios that we're going to see one way or the other. The bigger question is how are you going to be interpreting this, and how are you going to be trading this? When I look at this on a 1 hour time frame, I have to take a look at the tools that I've got in front of me. My tools are not indicating that we have imminent danger, right? What my tools are telling me, if I'm looking at the Wave Master, yes, the red wave is up here in overbought. The white wave, however, has crossed bullish. That's interesting to note. The yellow wave is pointing up, and the green wave looks like it's starting to pull up as well. So take that for what it is. I don't have any warnings that a sell is upon us. The last time I had one of those would have been, here on these two spikes. You can see we've got a bright red sell on the momentum here and a bright red sell on the momentum here. And that correlated with this area right here and this area right here. And we did have some follow through, but what ended up happening was when we got there, well, we ended up finding a decent amount of support in this area. Okay, so we found some support there. It just wouldn't break down. And that was when SPX was trying to break down below 4,100. It was at about 40.74, and we just couldn't break down below that level. It just happened to be too strong at the time. And then, of course, what ended up happening, we saw a nice move up off of here. And even on the momentum, we saw a buy that was right here in this area, and that was at about 40.74. So it wasn't a solid buy, but nonetheless, it was saying like, hey, it looks like the momentum to the downside has subsided, and we're probably going to see a move to the upside. And that was also at a time that green wave had completely reset. So it was really hard to be a huge bear at that moment in time. But now that we've seen this move here to the upside, again, we did see a good rejection off of that. I'm not ready to turn into like a crazy bear, and I'm going to look at crypto here in just a moment, and just to kind of talk about why I'm not a crazy bear just quite yet. So that's our S&P, right? Very good chance that this is, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here into wave C, into larger wave A. And then ABC, nice three-wave correction here. And then we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's messy. I realize that. And again, once this all starts to resolve, this is probably going to be a lot clearer. But for right now, it's going to be really hard for me to, to really say with any amount of certainty exactly what happened last week. But one thing that I can say is that as long as we stay below this high right here at about 41.63, we'll call it 41.63, 41.73, then I am going to be just a little bearish, but not crazy bearish that I think we're going to 3,000, right? I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. If that is going to happen, and to be completely candid, I do believe that it will happen, but I think it's going to take a lot longer than probably what a lot of people are expecting, and this is why longer dated options are probably not the best route at this point in time. You're probably better suited going into like a leveraged ETF, something like that, where the decay is not as prominent as, for instance, if you were to just get like a 310 put on SPY, right? Your theta decay is going to just destroy that option over time, because if we're going to fall that far, it's probably not going to happen quickly. And when it does happen, it's going to be too late then to get into options, because those moves are going to happen, really probably at a time where you're not expecting it. And two, is probably going to happen at a time where everybody is very, very bullish. Okay, so that's enough. We've been going about 10 minutes here on the S&P 500. Really not a whole lot more to say, other than the fact that, we could see another touch of this. And again, it could come later this week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday this week. We get up here to this 1,236. And then from there, we'll kind of watch and see what happens. But for right now, this doesn't look crazy impulsive. It does kind of look like we're in a corrective phase at the moment. Get up here to this 41.95 area. That would be very, very interesting. But so long as we stay below this orange trend line, I'm going to be short-term bearish. And so now let's take a look at Bitcoin. Let me find a chart that doesn't have a lot of chicken scratch on it. Okay, I'm going to go to a 4-hour here on Bitcoin. And right here on this, it's very simple. What we've got, we've got our half-time cycle here. That's on April 19th. That, again, is also on Wednesday. And the time cycles that I've got here go all the way back to, we've got an all-time high here. Not the all-time. Yeah, no, that was the all-time high. Apologies. November of 2021. We've got that time cycle right here. That was in June of 2022. If I go to like a 6-hour time frame, we can also see we've got, this high here, this high here. So these time cycles are important, or at least they have been since 2021. And I can scroll back here and you can see that I started this time frame. I'm going to go back to a log scale. I started this time frame back here from this high here, pivoted to this high here, and then found that on this time cycle we had a drop. Right? We got to this time cycle, we saw a drop. We got to this time cycle, what did we see? We saw a big move to the upside. So, again, I've been projecting this for a little while now, and Bitcoin, has sort of followed suit pretty well. What I'm not ready to say is that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would actually be ready to put this 5 almost here, right? I would say probably more than likely this 5 is going to hit somewhere in this general time frame, in this general area. We're probably going to hit this, and then we're going to see that bigger correction. How low is it going to go? It's probably not going to come all the way down here to 20,000 at this point, because the fact of the matter is it's gone up a little bit higher than I expected. But also, one other thing that I have to pay attention to is the fact that this might not be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What this might be is here an A, and then we've got this B, and then we go for wave C. So I have to recognize that that might be the actual count on what's going on. And the only reason why I'm willing to sort of think about that is the fact that we had a deep wave 2, but then we also had a deep wave 4. It just doesn't really fall in line with alternation as much as I would really like for it to. So we're inside of this ping pong zone, which I've identified as the lower zone of this area here and the higher zone of the same area. So we're right in the middle of all of that right now. So what's going to happen at this halfway point? Well, typically we do have a little bit of a pivot in that area. And the pivot that we're getting, I don't really believe is related to Bitcoin as much as it's related to alts. So let's take a look at total 3. Now, this is our market cap of altcoins, not including Bitcoin and not including Ethereum. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. Now, total 3 is just teetering on that 400 billion market cap. And I do believe it's probably going to push higher through here. And I think it's really going to be related to this dominant low here, this dominant high here, and on this pullback right here. This is where I think that total 3 is more than likely going to go. I think it's probably going to come up here to this 454 billion area. Is it going to go much higher than that? Really, nobody knows yet. It's way too early to tell. It's way too early to predict that. We're starting to get a little bit of a warning here, but this white wave is, it's pretty erect. So I think the trend is going to be up, even if we do see little pullbacks along the way. I do think that there is going to be some upside on altcoins. Now, I'm going to give another view here in just a moment that's going to basically be taking a look at a lot of other alts and just talking about this very similar formation that you're starting to see on a lot of these altcoins. But then let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Now, this is also something that we have been watching, we've been paying attention to, and I'm doing a study on basically on alt seasons and what's happening inside of this range, right? So we've been in this range ever since 2021. So in all of 2021, all of 2022, and so far in 2023, we've been in this range. When we get into this lower area, we've seen Bitcoin kind of take over. Altcoins drop value. When you get to the top of this range, we've seen Bitcoin stop, Bitcoin top, and altcoins have seen runs, right? So this is the game that we've been playing for the last almost 2.5 years now. And so far, what it looks like we're doing is we're seeing a very similar move here. We're seeing a nice correction here. We're starting to see a move down on Bitcoin dominance. And this is, again, one of the reasons why altcoins have been performing. I don't want to say they've been performing well, but they've been performing decent. I'm going to go and take a look at Cardano. So on Cardano, okay, we've got basically a massive inverted head and shoulders that's shown its face here on Cardano. Now, where's the upside target for this? I mean, we're really only looking for a move to about 52 to 60 cents. Now, that's still pretty massive in the grand scheme of things. It's a massive move because we identified this, quite some time ago. Now, if we do see a nice retest of this neckline, which we tend to do, we're basically looking at this formation here. We've got this dominant pivot low, this dominant pivot high. We've got this pullback. And then here's that 100. That's where we got that from. And that 123.6, that's where we got that from. Okay. Now, that would be our target for an ABC, right? So if we've got from this low here, we've got an A, we've got a B, we go up for that wave C, we're really looking for a move at least to here to 52 cents. More than likely, it's probably going to go a little bit higher here to maybe closer to 60 cents. But really, we're looking at higher prices. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at something else. Let's take a look at NEAR. We've been looking at this, okay? And you can see that we bought NEAR a long time ago. We bought this down here at about $1.30. We just recently bought back, right? We bought back on NEAR. We had a really great, actually a couple great trades earlier in 2023, late 2022 on NEAR. And now we're looking to capitalize a little bit more because, again, very similar formation. Now, you don't have the massive inverted head and shoulders that Cardano had, but what we do have is from this bottom here, we've got a nice A, B, nice correction, A, B, C, and then we've got this move up, move down, and then we're going to be taking a look to see if we can see a move up here to about 385. So 385 is going to be my target for NEAR. But again, a couple things have to happen. We do have a bearish cross here, which leads me to we might see a little bit of a pullback on some of these, but we're going to have to give it some time because April, again, we're getting close to the sell in May and walk away. So let's give it 2 weeks and see what the market can do. I think a lot of altcoins look very similar to this, but what I don't want to get caught up with is the fact that on some of these, we're going to be running into a 618 rejection. Okay, so some of my favorite trades to take are a 618 rejection down here to the negative 236. I don't want to see altcoins do this. If this were to happen, right? So just for the record, if this were to happen, Bitcoin dominance is more than likely going to turn a pivot and it's going to be making a move to new highs. Now, another route, one more thing, is Tether dominance, right? If we see Tether dominance continue to climb higher, and especially if it gets above, I would say 7.25%. So it's going to be right here in this area. If Tether dominance gets above this area, that's probably not great either. We really don't want to see Tether dominance getting up above this resistance area. That's going to be a pretty critical area of resistance. It's about 7.25%. If Tether dominance does get up there, well, I mean, I have to recognize the fact that the crypto market is more than likely going to topple over. So watching all of these different things, and I realize that it's a lot for anybody that doesn't have experience trading the crypto market. I mean, you've got Tether trading pairs, you've got BTC trading pairs, you've got dominance, you've got all of these different charts that go through all of these different things. So if this is not something that you are familiar with or not something that you're comfortable with, you know, you're best off taking like one trade at a time, managing your risk, and just being very careful with how you're investing your cash. Because again, at the end of the day, it's your money that you worked for and you don't want to lose it. Or if you do, you want to limit what you are losing. So just be very careful and be very cautious there. All right. I think that's all that I've got right now. Watch the 7.25% on Tether dominance. On Bitcoin dominance, we want to see a continued move to the downside. On Bitcoin in particular, I think it's okay for those fluctuations. For the S&P 500, stay below that orange trend line. And again, I'm just going to pull this up one more time. That orange trend line, we want to stay below the orange trend line, which again, as long as we're staying below 4,200, I think we're okay. Get a double top, that's okay too, right? Again, taking it one day at a time. And then I'm not getting into individual stocks right now. I do have some ideas on TradingView that talk about some individual stocks. If you're interested in that, you can find all of that information over on TradingView. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our indicators, if you need access to our trading room and all of the trades that we do, whether it be options trades or equity trades, which we've been doing a lot more day trading here recently, you can find all of that information on BitDoctor.org. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.